Here is a quick lecture to just give you all the info that we would have done in class. So just watch through this. Let me know if you have any questions. But this will set you all up to get started on the next assignment. So we are doing interior environment. So here's what we'll go over, kind of setting up the perspective for 1 and 2 points interior, kind of going from a schematic to a thumbnail, some general tips, and then we'll look at some art really quick and see how you can apply that stuff to your own drawing. So setting up a grid and the layout of a room will be pretty similar to the way we've been doing it for exteriors, but the only difference is we will be inside doing these sorts of setups. So let's just start with a 1 point and we'll kind of get into it. Again, I'll just kind of give a general overview, but I expect you guys to kind of draw along with this. Do your own version of this afterwards, and you can see if you kind of understand all the basics here. So here's just a 1 point grid. Here is a frame that I will be working in to design the composition. So the biggest difference is when we're doing the 1 point perspective the way we've done so far, and we're drawing cubes, we're drawing the outside of a cube. But now, since we're doing the interior, we're inside of a cube and drawing the inside rather than the outside. So we'll kind of draw the inside of a cube, then place some other cubes in there. So for 1 point, it's like, you are staring directly at one of the walls. So one of the flat planes of the walls of this cube that we are inside. So here is the flat plane of the wall. So whatever room you're sitting in right now, stare straight at one wall, turn your head and turn straight at the other, and that would, either one of those would be 1 point perspective. So this is, now I can kind of move this around. So if it's up here, the horizon line here / eye level is higher up, so this would be a higher camera angle. It's down here, it would be a lower camera angle, so the camera would be sitting on the floor. When doing this for interiors, the horizon line has to be somewhere on this wall. If it goes below here, then the camera is actually below the floor, so it wouldn't make sense. Or for here, it can't go above this wall because then the camera is in the ceiling. So it has to be between here or here, somewhere where we could actually be able to physically put the camera. All right. So let's just put it pretty simply, kind of right there in the middle. This is about an eye level drawing. So as you can see here, and probably start to envision, these 1 point perspective lines will come back and follow that grid that we've set up. So this is a relatively simple setup here, 1 point perspective, just a simple inside of a cube. There. Alright, so now obviously as we place in like some windows over here, these will recede to that same vanishing point. And you want to show that windows are recessed or go back into that wall, so drawing that volume there. Let's just put like a little shelf or a desk right here, so maybe if there's one off to this side. Again, we're just kind of starting all these things as cubes. Connect this here. Oh, that's out too far. Let's connect this one right there. Wherever this hits the wall, this will come forward there. And there is a cube. So we could turn this into a desk or a bookshelf or whatever, but just being able to get it placed in there as a cube will be kind of our main thing. So you guys should all be able to kind of execute this simple room, I expect. But just sketch your own version of this, see if you can get it to work. It's the same thing here. We had something tall. I'm not quite sure what this would be if this was in a room, but there you go. So everything kind of looks and is placed in there as if it makes sense. You know, you may have, let's say we wanted to put like a little rug down here, but you wanted it to be a round-ish rug. Oops. Start with a cube here, and kind of where is this ellipse going to hit in those 4 spots. And round that out so you have a round ellipse rug there on the bottom. As you do this also, I oftentimes, sketch a person in here. So if it's a big, tall room or a smaller room, just putting a kind of a placeholder for how big a person is in this room, because that will kind of establish the scale of the room overall. All right, so you go ahead and do your own version of this. Make sure you can kind of sketch just these basic forms in perspective in this sort of interior. Something I will go over also is you want to include things hanging from the ceiling in your interior. That is one of my general tips for interiors. Look up at the ceiling of whatever room you're in right now. What is hanging from the ceiling? Lights, fans, vents, different things are up there. Oftentimes it's a light, so try and include something there hanging from the ceiling as well. Alright, so that's kind of the basic one there. You could also do like a low angle as well. If I move this down, then our wall would be here. So if you wanted to like show something, I don't know, maybe a lower angle. Make the room feel bigger by putting a lower angle in there. And now everything else, again, this horizon line, it cannot go below that little section. So it has to be somewhere on that wall. So then we can have other cubes in here. Way up there. And our thing hanging from the ceiling comes down there. Careful with those ellipses. I'm just kind of sketching that in. As you can see, that is very sloppy. So to be a little more precise with it, draw a cube first and use that cube to help you get the ellipse there. But overall, that should be the same, but if you want to do that lower angle, it can have a cool look to it oftentimes. Okay, so that is kind of 1 point. So let's look at a 2 point. Excuse me. Here we go. So, vanishing points far away. So here is my frame. It's just in this section. Look how far away this distance is. I'm going to keep stressing it because we got to keep those vanishing points far away for anything in 2 point. Okay. So there's a frame. We can zoom in now here. So 2 point, rather than staring at one of the planes of the wall, you're staring at a corner, an edge, just like drawing the boxes in 2 point from the outside, but now we're inside of the box. So whatever room you're in, turn and stare at one of the corners and you will see the 2 point perspective. So I'm going to place in the corner of my room here-ish. So now these vanishing points will go to opposite sides, okay? So that one's up, goes to that left vanishing point. I'm approximating that based on what I have sketched on my grid. If you guys are using Procreate, that will help you do, you can follow these lines in Procreate. Okay, so then these ones will go off to the right vanishing point. Just use this, following along here. I can use my line tool if I want. I'm just following along that green line that I have sketched in there already, or the grid that's in there already. Okay, so there it is. That is my approximate interior there. Same thing, I would suggest putting a person in there. Helps you get a sense of scale. Once a person in there, then I know like about where windows should be. This goes off to the left, vanishing point. About how big a door should be. Doors are good for showing scale, so somewhere in your interior you should have probably a door in there somewhere. And then again, we might have a bookshelf or a desk or something. I kind of like to see how much space it takes up on the floor here. So drawing the space that this desk or whatever this cube will be, how much space does this take up on the ground plane there? And then I can always extend this up. Maybe it's a really tall bookshelf. This goes back to the vanishing point on the left. So follow along there. And then you can put, the dividers of your bookshelf in here as well. So go from big shapes to small shapes. So once you kind of get the accuracy of whatever this is, if this is a bookshelf, once you get this, then you can kind of just freehand and add in books up here because you've got the, you can even add like a plant. Other things on here because you got the setup over all of that shelf. And then we put a rug on the floor or something along those lines. But keep these vanishing points far away. This is kind of the minimum distance right here. So you see if we were trying to draw a cube up here, it would look super warped, floating way above up there. So keep it in this section, okay? So overall, that idea will be the same. Again, you can move that horizon line lower or higher. I can do another version really quick just so we can see what that looks like. Let's move this down a little bit. See, oh no, let's do a higher horizon line. We did a lower one before. So staring at the corner of the room. So now most of the room is below us. Following these guidelines, this one goes off to the right vanishing point. This one goes off to the left. This one comes through here. Again, just following those yellow grid lines. Throw a little person in there about how big is stuff going to be. Okay, then we can draw our door here. And there, blah, blah, blah. And you guys can see how this will all come together. Something hanging from the ceiling is a good idea. So this ellipse is now below our eye level, so we won't see that underside of that lamp. All right, this is the time I would ask for questions, but I suggest you all to just kind of sketch your own very, very quick version with simple shapes of a 2-point and a 1-point interior. We could go into 3-point, but you don't get quite those extreme looking up and looking down angles in a room unless it's a huge, giant, cavernous room. Most of the prompts are smaller options for this project, like hat shop, saloon, auto body repair, artist studio. You can look at the prompts on Moodle there, but most of them are kind of smaller rooms, so I won't get into 3-point, but overall it would be kind of the same setup. Okay, so that's kind of the basic theory behind that. Okay, so what you are going to be doing for this project is designing your own interior layout. Alright, so this is what I came up with for mine. My prompt is a living room. Okay, so this isn't one that's on Moodle. You'll see all the options there on Moodle. So what I want you to do is write a short paragraph and answer a bunch of questions. Mine is like an old couple. They've lived in this house for 50 years. It's falling on disrepair. They got 2 cats. They have an old record player. They like to watch TV. They listen. They take walks to the bakery and bring back pastries. So come up with, make the prompt your own, make it a story. Be specific about location and year. That's really important, okay? And who lives there. So I got an old couple that's lived there for 50 years. Start with a list. So just the things that will be in this room. Okay, this is just a brainstorming, helping you get ideas down before you start drawing. And what I suggest then is taking this list and creating a schematic, a top-down view, kind of a blueprint of what is going to be in this room. This really helps you to envision the space, figure out what is going to be where, and this, again, the next step will help us be to set up camera angles for your thumbnails. So, this is based on, living rooms that I've seen, living rooms I've lived in, and then I also did, obviously you want to do reference photo search, so search for living rooms or whatever your location is and see what you can find to set this up. So I just kind of got the TV, record player here, coffee table, couch, chair, bookshelf, records over there, kind of a little window nook. I want you to change this location so it's just not a perfect cube. So here I added this little window seat alcove. So rather than just being an exactly standard cube, you can add a slanted roof. You can, make an angled wall. Just do a little something. You can add like a little bowl, a bulge coming out of the room. That's maybe a closet. So it's not just a perfect cube. Make it just slightly more interesting. So this really helps me to envision the space, get a sense of the size. And then you will take this and you want to start your thumbnail. So for next week, you're going to turn in 10 thumbnails and 1 to 2 refined. If you have one you really like, one angle you came up with, you can just do 1 refined thumbnail, or 2 if there's a second one that you really like as well and are kind of working through those ideas. So what I will do here is I will go on a new layer and I want to try and imagine the camera angle. Okay, so where is the camera going to go in this room and what is it going to see? So I can put the camera here. And then thinking about how wide an angle lens does this camera have? Does it have a wide angle lens where it sees this much of the room? Or does it have a longer, narrower lens where it only sees this much of the room? Okay. Doing one really like this would be like a wide angle kind of fisheye lens. I suggest something about like this. This does correlate to a specific camera lens, but I don't have that information. This is just kind of from practical what I have seen. So you can do this and then kind of angle it around. So if it's here, I'll be kind of behind the rocking chair, seeing the TV in the window corner. Maybe I can be like, oh, I want to see a little bit more. Maybe I put a little wider angle lens on there. So what do you want to see in the room? What is the most important part of this story? I definitely want to see, and you're not going to be able to see everything in your room, and that's okay. That's where you can kind of play within those thumbnails. So let's just do something like this and start sketching some thumbnails here. All right, so here, this is the middle. It is staring at that corner, the corner of the room. So this will be 2-point perspective, okay? That's how I kind of get that set up. And this little camera angle thing gives you an approximation. It's going to change when I start to do this sketching. So I'm just going to start. I usually almost always start with eye level, so I can try a looking down and a looking up as well. Alright, so I will see the little window alcove here. Window seat here, big windows. What's in the corner? There's a plant here in the corner. It's always good to get some organic shapes in there. We got a TV stand here. They'll come out approximately here. They have an old 90s TV that was in my list of things, so maybe it still has the antennas on it and the big back. And their record player is right here as well. So I see a little bit of this rocking chair, just the top of the rocking chair, and kind of the corner of the couch here. You see the rug and a hint of that coffee table. And this this is a door opening or a walkway right here, so you see the edge of this walkway. I need something hanging from the ceiling. It could be a lamp. Let's put like a ceiling fan up there. All right, so that's a pretty good angle. I can see the TV. That's probably what I would want to be the focal point anyway for a shot from this angle. That era of TV is going to explain a lot kind of about these characters. I want to try and change this angle a little bit more. Maybe go back here a bit and we kind of see the side of the TV. So this one, we're almost staring right at that back wall, and we see that entire back wall. So let's do a little bit of a higher angle here. We just do this as 1.2, just staring right down the room. There's the floor there. Ceiling. Okay, so we'll get our little plant in the corner. the alcove here of the big window seat. So some pillows in there. We got 2 windows here on the back, on the side wall, or this back wall. There's that TV stand type thing. TV, record player. And yeah, keep these rough ones loose. You're really just playing with these angles. Okay, so we'll see. The couch will take up about, sometimes I'll sketch, like I said, sketching on the floor. So the couch will take up about there. The rocking chair is kind of here. So we'll see the top of the rocking chair and then the couch as well. So I just want to keep messing with these camera angles. Find the one I like the best. Let's move this camera again. Maybe go from this angle. So it takes time. It takes time to kind of figure this out. Maybe this one we see, so this one is staring more at that front corner. We have that corner here. Again, let's try a higher angle. Two-point. Okay. Here's this. And as I'm sketching this, see, I was like, oh, okay, I want this frame to come out a little bit more as well. So things like that change as you are sketching these. That is completely normal. And kind of once you do this a couple times, you'll start to get a feel for what this room feels like. Drawing in my bench seat over there. TV stand here. Plant over here. And we just kind of see, looking down on this couch, and we just see the top of the rocking chair there. Okay. But for the most part, I kind of suggest trying, relatively simple designs. So if this was the one I wanted to go with, then you just will refine this. Okay, so then this can be So then I can refine this. Opacity. So this is just a 1-point setup here. Again, try and choose kind of a simple setup overall. Vanishing point right here. Throw in a quick grid, just again, and this is still a refined thumbnail, so I'm not looking for exact perfect perspective here. I just want a suggestion of perspective. This is a higher angle, angle kind of towards the top of the room, looking down on it. And then I will refine this, be a little bit more careful. So yeah, the angle of those walls was off. Okay, so then once you have this all on here, where will my couch go? Approximately right here. So the couch is at a different perspective angle than than the rest of the room. Okay, so you can have, this couch will not be at the same 1-point perspective. I just make it a little bit bigger to help with scale. And at this point, I would be looking at specific reference for couches, reference for window shapes, reference for anything else in this scene that I am unsure of. So there is a couch. Get the nice old funky 90s TV in here, and you guys can kind of see how I would continue to fill this out. Okay, draw the plant back in this corner. So general tips, straight versus organic. It is good to have organic shapes in here. I really want you to fill this scene up with a bunch of stuff, but note that you want to leave just enough space for the characters to walk around in. You don't want it to feel so crowded that the characters can't move. So once I get kind of the major shapes figured out, kind of get that in there, then you make it feel lived in. So put a bunch of old coffee cups on here. Make this a specific type of coffee table. You can change that framing if you need to at all. Make it just a little bit bigger. Windows on here, and then it's like, what kind of curtains would old people have? Okay, so they probably have like those little frilly ones. The rocking chair would be about right here, so that back of the rocking chair would come up. Look up rocking chair reference. What's that actually going to look like? What else? So, the edge of the door was right here. In my story, their kids are grown, but the family comes to visit, so maybe I put tons of pictures, family pictures on the wall over here, family pictures over here. In my story, it's an older house, so maybe there's crown molding here. This would be based on reference. It has kind of a curved little up ceiling with some nice architectural details in there. It's a little beat up and old, so I can draw some scuff and things like that. And then after you get this, kind of put a suggestion of value on here. So I would want to draw attention to the TV there. That would kind of give information about the scene. I wanted a rounded rug. And again, this one's still relatively rough. I might need to do another cleanup pass on this, but it's kind of that thinking process. So you'll want some sort of refined thumbnail for next week that kind of gives the overall feel of your building and your scene. Here are some good interiors. Really nice classroom one, but it's filled up with stuff, okay? So fill up storytelling. You can tell this classroom, they got the Monet painting on here. The specific era of laptop, types of stools. There's stuff on the ceiling. So this one has a pattern on the ceiling as well as fluorescent lights. So a really well done piece here. Here's from The Great Mouse Detective, the Disney movie. So this, a low angle makes sense. We're at the mouse's eye level. Everything looks bigger to us. But, you know, time of day and weather, putting the umbrellas there. Just the little doilies around here, lots of details. And you can see kind of the pattern there on the ceiling. Here's from Into the Spider-Verse. So yeah, got a light hanging on the ceiling. A bunch of stuff around, pots and pans. A toast just popped out of the toaster. Flowers there, so you get some organic shapes in there. And then this is enough negative space on the floor for the character to move and kind of walk through the room. This is from Big Hero 6. Again, it's tons and tons of story packed in here. Great perspective. We can see that this is a house in San Francisco based on kind of the architecture. This is the upper story too because of the slanted roof. But overall is giving a lot of information about the character who lives here. They like robots, they like monsters, laptops, they like pizza. They're messy, obviously. Play soccer, so a lot of information there. So hopefully this gives you guys some ideas and inspiration for designing these locations. Here's some as well. This one is creating kind of a flat style and ignoring a lot of perspective rules, but I want you to pay attention to the story. Really great story. Next week we'll talk about lighting and how to set up lighting in an interior environment. But you can start to think about that. Where's the light coming from? Is it coming from the window, from a lamp, from different things inside of that building? All right, so I'm happy to look at any sketches that you guys may have or you may come up with during the week. Let me know if you have any questions. And this should be a pretty fun project overall.